There is one life. That life is God. And that life is our life right now. Join me? There is one life. That life is God. That life is our life right now. And you can feel it within every cell and fiber of your being. Even the people that intentionally avoid having an experience or relationship with God, there is a time, I could almost guarantee you, even if it's in the 11th hour, they remember what they are connected to. Yes? There is one life, and that life is God, and that life is our life right now. It is infinite. It is filled with possibilities. It is immense as to how it can move through our lives, through decisions that we're making, through choices, through circumstances, and through conditions. BB and I were away this past week. We were at an all-inclusive resort just east of Fort Myers. And it was just a wonderful time. And just to kind of put a frame around it, if they have 150 condos there were 13 families that were staying there on the property. I needed you to get that picture in your mind. So that being said, along the way during the week, 2 or 3 times the power went off. And it came right back on, no big deal. But we're sitting there one evening around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the power goes off, and it's 15 minutes off, and it's 20 minutes off, and it continues to be off. So we go to the sign, because they are all around us. And it says, if you need help, call the maintenance number, and here's the number you call. Easy breezy lemon squeezy, I'm thinking. So anyway, we call the maintenance person, who happens to be a man in this case. And we were like, hello, we're in building 8. I think we're the only people in building 8, but we really want you to know that we don't have power. Well, it usually comes on pretty quick. And I said, well, I'm pretty positive thinking, but it hasn't. And so would you be so kind to call the power company? I can't, because I don't have internet, and I can't look it up. And he goes on to say, I don't know how to do that. Wow is right. Now, I would say that for many people in the world today, that they use that as an answer more than frequently. I don't know how to do that. Yes? And I'm thinking to myself, Chris James over here that helps us so much on Sunday, when he was hand-selected to serve Ronald Reagan during the presidency, I'm so grateful, and I doubt very seriously when someone asked him if he could do something that he said, I don't know how to do that. What do you think? Right? And I think of some of you that are doctors and are financial planners. We have a couple in here that are very successful, like Mr. Stiles. And I'm sure that if we go to him and say, help us multiply our money, I wouldn't want to hear him say, I don't know how to do that. Right? So what is it that we know about that energy of I don't know how to do that? Because our purpose today is to talk about the difference between my way, just an energy of a personality and a self-focused kind of thing, to a highway, the higher way. Because wherever we are with the conditions or experiences or self-imposed limitations or unexpected things that happen in our lives, we want to learn to use the highway. And that highway, of course, is when we are open as vehicles to what God can do through us in those circumstances and situations. Does this work for you? Okay. So that being said, so when we say, I don't know how to do that, we cut the flow off. We go from absolute empowerment to absolute disempowerment just that quick. You can do kinesiology and you'll see, I don't know how to do that. Here's the thing. I don't know how to do that, but there is something within me that does. I don't know the answer to that, But what I do know in infinite wisdom is there is something within me that will deliver the answer that I need to know. Do you see the difference? I am here alive in this time, on this planet, and I cannot explain to you, I don't know how that is possible. Because based upon how I lived from 15 to 29, and let me tell you, the times I remember I thought I had fun, I'm not sure, but there is no explainable reason as to why I'm here, and I get all teared up when I talk about God. Because anytime I talk about my life, and that I'm living today, I cannot talk about my life and not talk about God. Because there had to be some kind of purpose to my still being alive, because I survived myself. You understand that? I mean, I survived myself. And people, they want to get me all hooked in, what age I am and all that. And they'll go, you don't have things that hurt in your body? And I go, do you realize that I've had an automobile run into a transfer truck going 65 miles an hour and knock me over 2 lanes? I've been hit by a car going 30 miles an hour, and I was on a motorcycle. And I was rear-ended, which meant I was lifted up to the top and fell on the car and fell on the pavement. I have had about 12 automobile accidents under my influence of other things that one can do. So I said, my answer was, if you want to know, I could tell you. My answer was, I don't sit around with my body and think about what hurts. First of all, because I don't want the universe to know that my body has to hurt for me to listen. And second of all, because I'm grateful I have all my fingers and toes and my knees and my hips, and I have all my pieces. Do you understand that? I want you to clap for God, not for me. So this is the place that we emerge into when we come into this place of why are we empowered and how can we say we are empowered? Because we really get very clearly it is not our personality. We open up to a wisdom that's greater than we are. So we always know. And when we say we don't know, we are mindful enough to be aware that there is a power within us that does. Every one of you seated here, there was a time in your life when you looked at all the things that you had to figure out. If it was up to you, you would have never been able to figure them out. I just know this because we're human beings. But there was something about your energetic field, the Creator who created you, that created the understanding for things to move forward. Does that connect? It's very important for that particular piece. So we either move from being a vehicle of empowerment or we are often victims. And how are we victims? Well, even if you are evolving, as many of us are, and continue to do so, we are good students of truth. One of the things I observe is sometimes I'm still using victim language. I just do it in a more profound and energetic way. But somewhere it's still got a little victim attached to it. Somewhere in there, right? Somewhere in there. And forevermore, when you start saying what someone has done and what someone has done around you, the key is to say, I have allowed so-and-so to do this. I have allowed this situation to happen in my life. Unless you're up on the front, you are not usually able to overcome what it is that you're holding everybody else accountable for, okay? The other thing is that I met a healer a few weeks ago, and this healer, more often than not, let's say within a 2-hour period, she must have said, I'm sorry, about 7 times. And I said, are you open to us working on that? And it's important to always lean forward, Are you open to us working on that? Because I would like to really just share with you the distinction. There's a big difference in life between I made a mistake and I am a mistake. We all make mistakes, yes? We're multi-juggling. We got the Facebook and the social media, and we got people we don't even know following us, telling us stuff, counting on us, all this stuff. We make mistakes because we're a multi-juggling group of people in a universe that is always forever moving. But we are not the mistake. And every time you say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, especially parents who say that to their child or say that to their grandchildren, please stop saying that. Don't teach them that mantra, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Because you can literally tell the difference. Now, I don't want you to leave here today and tweet and all that stuff and tell people that your minister said don't ever say I'm sorry, because that was Ali McGraw and Ryan O'Neal. I'm not talking about that. And I'm not saying you don't recognize what you have done. I'm simply saying that you say, I acknowledge that my behavior earlier was unacceptable. The other day when I was with you on the phone, I realized that I was half present and I really didn't get what you were saying, and I want to acknowledge that. How are we? Are we good? And that kind of thing. Do you see the difference? The other day when we were together, and I acted kind of full of it, and I just want to ask you for forgiveness. How is that? Do you feel that practice much more than going, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry? One is victim, one is I'm doing better. One is I'm clarifying. One is I am immersed in the energy. That's why Meister Eckhart would say, the process of spirituality, more importantly, is elimination, not addition. Eliminate some of these things that we do that keep us from knowing the greatness of what God can do in our lives. Now, with people in general, there's 4 stages that we address when we look at what is our relationship with God. One is the to me phase. One is the for me phase. The other is the in me phase. And finally, it's as me phase. Now, the idea is to get to a place where in your life, God is expressing as you the majority of the time. Does that feel achievable?
Yes.
So here's the thing for you to know. Who God is to you is always who you are to yourself. Right? Right, Ingrid? Thank you for clapping, Ingrid. I'll see you after. Yeah. It's who... when the first time I thought of this, and this came to me many years ago in prayer, I went, wow, huge. But it is true. What you feel about you is what you feel about God. If you feel you're reliable and you can count on yourself and the promises that you made to yourself today you are going to deliver, guess what you think God's going to do? Be a deliverable person, an energy, give you what it is that you're looking for. If you feel that you are not enough and you're critical and you're judgmental about you, guess what kind of God you believe that you serve? I mean, this is grown-up stuff. Yes? So this is the part, is to really establish the relationship that you want with God. Put the energy on the relationship with yourself, and that will be added unto you. That's why we're told in Scripture, love thy neighbor, not because it's a good thing, not because, it's the right thing to do, but what does it say? Love your neighbor as yourself. So everything around you is the equivalent of that. So many of us were brought up that we were serving a God that did things to us, judged us, better watch out, better not cry, and better not do all that. I mean, it just kind of, Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, God, all those things kind of got blended together because you were being watched. And if you didn't do whatever the right thing was, then something was going to happen to you. A to me God, and we are still hearing that throughout the country, sadly, in the 21st century. That some things are happening because God decided it needed to happen to those people over there and those families and those children and those animals. That is the least intelligent thing I've ever heard in my life. Are you with me? Yeah. The least intelligent thing. We must stop that. But we know better. And if you did not have religiosity when you were growing up, you had education. As great spirits and indigo and all you bright people that are here, because unity people and science of mind people and new thought people are some of the brightest people I've ever met in my life. So it's just my own life experience, but I can speak about it, you know. But that being said, it's like if you didn't get it from religiosity, more than likely you got it from the early stages of education. It started out when we had to run and hide under our desks because we wanted you to know how to hide under your desk in case something happened to you. Right? And so we have been trained, many people, to anticipate something's going to happen to you. You just don't know when. And what I'm asking you today is to transcend that whole reality about your life. Because nothing can happen to you unless you allow it to happen through you. Do you see the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're not people being done unto. There are no chosen people unless you specifically choose to be you. That would be you are chosen in that way. But that is the only reality that needs to guide you that way. It's like the guy that was going to the office one Monday morning, and he went out and his car wouldn't start. Got all aggravated, called AAA. He's now on his way to the office. Well, he has a flat tire. Well, he gets out, you know, and just screaming and shouting and saying special words that we don't say in church. And he goes to the office. Well, his boss saw him. It was John, you know what? I mean, John, come on. We're going to have to let you go today. Are you kidding me? So then he drives the car, he goes back to the house, and as he's pulling up to the cul-de-sac, there is home. His home's on fire. I know. And he goes, gets out of the car and he goes, God, just what is it with you? Just tell me, what is it with you? And the skies part, and God says, John, I don't know. There's just something about you that I've never really liked. Now, if you have ever said that to yourself, please stop. Please move forward with a different reality. Because let me tell you what the for me God phase is like. The for me God phase is a person that's walking around that you know that life is for you. So even people that criticize you, you get excited about it because you know you're going to grow from the experience. Nothing is ever against you. Say that with me. Nothing is ever against me. It's never against me. Nothing ever is. And you take that same scenario about John. Well, see, it brings me to tears. Because if I go out in the driveway and my car doesn't start, I almost want to cry. Because I want to go, thank you, God, for the miracle. Because I'm being spared today. There's something that I think that's important that obviously is not. There's somewhere that I thought was more important than what I really wanted to do, and let me rethink that. Or why I'm sitting here, let me pray and let me create a little Om energy across the planet. And if I had the flat tire, then, and you had the flat tire, if you're living in a reality that God is for you, then you would get excited about that because you would be grateful that you could actually figure the parts out in your trunk these days and be able to change your own tire. I mean, that's really a special requirement these days. But you would live in that reality of people being for you. I used to spend so many years criticizing myself and criticizing what I could have done, should have done, would have done, could have, should have, would have, thou shalt not should on oneself. And that's what I did. And so when anybody would come to me with an idea of whatever, I would always perceive it as they were criticizing me. And it was like I carried this energy field of, please don't criticize me, I'm not comfortable with that. Please don't make me deal with confrontation because I'm not comfortable with that. But the day changed that I realized that that doesn't have to be true for me at all, that I welcomed it, that everything was for me, that people are for us. And I started getting excited when people would say, well, I know this sounds critical. I go, bring it on, I love it. Bring it on, I love it, because I know ultimately there's some wisdom in there. You see the difference? The to me phase, leave it. The for me phase, understand it. Yes. And then we get into the in me phase. That's where so much of the excitement begins because you understand there is a power that is within you that's greater than anything. It's in you and it's there to express in a deeper and in a greater way. I'm reminded of in Matthew 8:22 through 25. when it says that Jesus is walking around Bethsaida and that there's a blind man brought to him by other people from a local village. And he puts his hand on the man's eyes, and the man can now see. From blind to seeing. And Jesus says, how are you? And he says, well, I can see now. And he said, well, do not go back to that village. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Because a lot of times people have new spiritual awarenesses. They have awakenings. They have a new beginning. They know that there's something within them that is changing, and they start to see in a greater way. But they want to run back to the village of old patterns and old habits and old thoughts and all of that. You want to give yourself time for these new beginnings to integrate. Yes? So that you can deal with those kind of things. Someone called me from the West Coast yesterday. I just need to talk to you. I just need to talk to you. I've been really changing. I'm doing better. I'm in recovery now, and I got this going, and I'm going that, and now I'm with my family. Ba ba la 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 la. Or no, what's the shark sound? Da na 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 na. And so that said, I said, well, welcome to your spirituality check-in. Welcome to your spirituality check-in. Don't go back to those old patterns again. Because we want to live and move and have our being as a universal energy, where we are all connected, where God is as us. As us. When David knew he was going to battle a giant called Goliath, he was being influenced by everybody. Well, why don't you do this? Well, you need a big sword, and you need a shield. Well, and you got to have the armored hat, and you need that, and you need to go run and get prepared, and you need to lift rocks to get prepared. I didn't have weights back then, I'm just saying. So you need to lift rocks to get ready, big heavy rocks. And all of a sudden he got, wait a minute, there is something within me that knows how to do this. I don't know how I can face this giant, but there's some kind of wisdom within me that knows, and all I need to do is use the tools that I'm really good at. And if I do that, I can overcome anything. Whatever your situation, allow the wisdom to come through you. My friend and colleague T.J. Woodward says that every one of us understand the statement, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You've heard that, right? But he said, when we're into empowerment, when we are expressing as a God energy, when the student is ready, the teacher will disappear. Because we are standing in our glory of who we are, right here and right now. Thank you for coming today. Pleasure to have you. Thank you.